a black hearse pulls in to a church parking lot. It backs up to the entrance. There are 8 men in dark suits, 4 on each side of the hearse, with somber expressions on their face, and they slowly and respectfully remove the casket from the hearse, and they go into the church, and there's soft organ music playing, and it's beyond the seating capacity. There's not a seat left in that church. There are people aligned around the wall, and there's a overflow room that's full of people. And at the front of the church, there's a sea of flowers people have sent to express their sympathy to the family. And when you take out the program, at the top of the program, it's got your name. And below that name, it's your birth date, and it's this date, which is the day that you passed away, or your funeral, and it's your picture. And it's your memorial service. And there's 4 people that are going to speak. It's a member of your family. It's a close friend. It's a professional colleague. Every one of us have had a player in our program whose life was changed because they were in our program. Their trajectory or the outcome of their life was altered from playing the game of football, and specifically from playing the game of football in your program. So right now, I want you to think of that person. I know you guys have many of them, but think of one of those people, and I want you to think of his name and get his name in your mind. And so anyway, to help me out, Randy, you can make a name up, or you can tell me a real person, but give me a name of a person that's been in your program who you're 100% sure his life was set on a different trajectory because you two guys crossed paths.
I'm going to say a name, and I'm going to honor Coach Luster by saying this name because he had as much impact or more than me for sure. But Ty.
So Ty's the 4th speaker. Okay. So you've got a member of your family, close friend, professional colleague, and Ty's going to speak. So I want you to think about, what do you want them to say about your life? You know, how do you want them to define and sum up your life in words? So they speak. And so I'm just going to go ahead and proceed. I'm going to say that they speak. And while they're speaking, they talk about your accomplishments, your wins, your state championships, the incredible success that your teams have had in the win-loss record. They talk about your contributions to the game of football. The game of football was transformed and revolutionized by you. And there's a lot of guys in this group that's really, really happened. And then, you know, they talk about you even impacted lives. And then they announce at the end of this thing, let's just say that they say this, the last stadium that you coach in, they're going to name that stadium after you, and they're going to put a statue of you in front of that stadium. And if we look at that, as this chapter is closed and the story of your life is closed, you know, then what do you want it to be about? You know, and so it's over with. Your life's over with. The story's over with. So I want to rewind just a second. I want to rewind that story, and I want to tell it a little bit differently. So you'll think about your role in the lives of these young men just a little bit different. And I want you to think about this end in mind. Okay, so let's say that the black hearse pulls into the church parking lot. Okay, it backs up to the entrance of the church. There's 8 men, dark suits, 4 on each side of the hearse, somber expressions on their face, respectfully, slowly remove the casket from the hearse. They enter the church, soft music, organ music plays. It's beyond seating capacity. And there are people aligned around the walls. There's a spillover room. And this spillover room is completely full. There's a sea of flowers at the front, people that have sent to express sympathy to your family. The service begins and everybody takes out their program. And now, instead of your name, it's Ty's name. And Ty has lived a long, prosperous, fruitful life. He has an enormous family there that's come from all over the country. There are people that come from all over the community to pay their respects. There's people from a business that he was successful in. This guy has had an enormous impact on this whole community and all the lives that he's touched. And so these 4 people are going to stand up and speak. One's a member of his family. One is a close friend. One is a professional colleague. And there's finally a person that when they were young and they were an at-risk youth, he invested in them and their life was changed. And so they start talking and they start telling these stories about Ty. But then they start telling stories that Ty used to tell. And everybody recognizes these stories. And so everybody's nodding their head. And some people are even laughing because everybody in this congregation, they've heard him tell these stories their entire life. And all these stories, the reason they remember these stories so well was they had a lesson at the end of these stories. They tell his old corny jokes, and these corny jokes, they had a lesson, they had a meaning, they had a point at the end of them, and everybody recognized. They're laughing. They have these sayings that he used to use, and they're called Ty-isms, and they're all laughing phrases and sayings that he said. But then he had inspirational quotes, and they remember those as well. And as you hear these words, you realize that these words, they're not Ty's words, they're your words. And these words are words that he heard. These are your words that he believed, and these are your words that he lived by. And these words became Ty's life. Ty's impact on the people in this building is an extension of your impact on Ty. And so, you know, we've got two options here. The first one is a vision of what success is, and the second one is a vision of what significance is. And when you live a life of significance, you know, and your career is over and your life is over, your story's not over. Your story's just beginning. And Lou Holtz said it best. He said, if you're successful, your accomplishments die with you. If you're significant, your influence transcends your life. Wes Brock said this: a man lives as long as another bears the seal of his influence. And so I tell my coaches that, because we have a choice in what do we want our career to be about. And I want it to be something that lasts, that long outlasts me, because I'll tell you, I've been a part of the championships and stuff, and in the rings tarnish and the trophies rust, they're gone. And in the wake of all that, there's going to be something left, and there's nothing more valuable than a transformed life.